California Reparations Task Force calls for eliminating child support debt for black residents. The California Reparations Task Force is asking the Democrat-controlled state legislature to eliminate interest, this is one part, interest on past due child support, as well as any back child support debt for black residents of the state.
But
I know.
Where is that money going? Not to mostly black mothers?
I'm warning you, Charlie, don't try to make sense of this or you're going to go nuts, okay? The group claimed that discriminatory laws have torn African-American families apart and that one effect of that is the harms caused by, quote, the disproportionate amount of African-Americans who are burdened with child support debt.
To pay for your child?
Since they had kids and they're burdened with having the responsibility for their own children. Yes. The nearly 1,100-page document stated that black Californians represent a larger percentage of those who owe child support debt than their proportion of the state's population, which means it must be racist, when you look at proportionally. They also claim the 10% interest the state charges on back child support hinders their ability to finance further education, attend job training, find employment, and maintain housing.
Well, that's not false, by the way. That's true. Owing child support, having an obligation to make a payment is going to hinder other things in your life.
It will, yes.
You know how you stop that? Either one, stop having children, or two, keep the family together.
And you're going to have to, keep the family together or get a better job. It's just, how is it other people's responsibility? That is the question. The report cited a 2003 California Department of Child Support Services study that estimated 27% of owed child support in the state was unpaid interest, and that those who owed child support had lower incomes than the typical California worker. Now, when it comes to the interest side of this, what I wonder is, and I know what the answer probably is, does the interest go to, let's say the father's paying child support to the mother. Does the interest go to the mother? Or does the interest go to the state?
I think it's probably the state who regulates.
Okay.
Because in some states, like child support has to pass through the state, and then the state issues the check.
Gotcha.
So of course, there's administration costs to that. Of course,
yeah.
And, they're not going to pay it.
Now, the interest part is important. To me, it's important. One, it's an incentive to pay it so you don't accrue the interest. And two, the interest would be very important if it went to the mother. For instance, if the mother was owed $500 5 years ago, she doesn't need to receive $500 this year. She needs to receive the interest because there has been inflation throughout that time. And $500 today is not worth as much as $500 5 years ago was.
And so worth the same yesterday.
No. And so the interest helps take care of that part, but likely the interest goes to the state. And so the only incentive is to try and incentivize people to pay the child support. And so getting rid of the interest part, okay, well, you still want to pay for the administration, paying out the checks and stuff like that, if that is the case. Now, here's the thing. They have two things, the interest, and then they also recommend that some of the debt be forgiven, the child support debt be forgiven. What does that mean? Does that mean the mothers don't get the child support, or does it mean the state doesn't get the child support, but they still pay it out, and so the taxpayers pay the child support, meaning other people?
Well, Nate, it takes a village.
I guess it requires a village in some villages.
It takes a village.
Yeah.
No, all we're doing is, like, all this stuff that you see, we're just abdicating responsibility for people and the decisions that they make. Like, look, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I had a child out of wedlock. His mother and I.
That is impressive.
Yeah. His mother and I did not get married, and I pay child support. I do, among a lot of other things that I pay for. But I don't blame anyone else. It's not anyone else's fault that I'm in this position.
Yeah.
I made a decision a long time ago that wasn't my best choice. Hindsight's 2020, of course. You go back and you're like, shouldn't have done that.
Well, yeah.
But then, now I have this miracle child who's growing up, screaming in the background sometimes when I'm on calls, which is fine, but also who's just joyous and fun and loving. And it's my obligation to take responsibility for the decisions that I made, and also just to be a decent father. Like you,
this is
all
your
we're doing-
responsibility.
we just keep allowing people to be victims of the decisions that they make and have no responsibility in it whatsoever. Like, it's very obvious that if you do a certain thing that we can't talk about on air, you know, then there's a potential for a life to be conceived.
Could happen.
Yeah. And then, therefore, you're responsible for that life. And it's like, oh, man, I just can't anymore. I'm at the point that I can't.
Well, the thing is, you know, what we have to do, and I was wanting to talk to you about this yesterday is we can't focus on changing what these people believe. All we can do is talk to people who are willing to listen, who share some of the same beliefs that we do. And all we can do is change how we react to these people and how much we allow them to pull these things over on us and steal from us and keep subsidizing bad decisions and taxing good ones. We can't fix those people. Maybe they can be fixed over time, but all we can do is talk to these people that are listening on the podcast, and we can all decide how we are going to react to and interact with these people and live our lives in the way that's going to set up the right incentive structure, the only incentive structure for those people to have to be better. Or, you know what?
I don't know if I can get behind that.
Yeah, I know. That was a test.